Today we're diving into NixOS, a Linux distribution that honestly is trying to solve one of the most annoying problems in computing, that choice between a rock-solid system and having the latest, greatest software. It claims you can have both, so let's see if it actually pulls it off.
You know, if you've been around the Linux world for any amount of time, you've hit this wall. You have to make a choice, right? Do you want a system that is super stable, or do you want one that has all the brand new cutting-edge features? For pretty much ever, the answer's been, nope, you can't have both.
And it really is a dilemma. On one side, you've got distros like Debian. They're tanks, rock solid, dependable, they just work. But the software can feel ancient, sometimes months or even years out of date. Then on the other side, you've got the bleeding edge systems like Arch Linux. You get the newest software the second it's out. The catch, well, that cutting edge can definitely cut you.
Let's talk about a real-world story here. So, there was this user, super excited to get all the latest features, and they switched their main computer over to Arch Linux. They wanted the newest packages and were totally willing to live on the edge to get them. But that decision, it had a cost.
So first, a pretty standard system update just completely flips their mouse buttons. Annoying, sure, but you can fix it. But then, a few weeks later, a kernel update just bricks the machine. Total paperweight. It would not boot. And with no clear fix anywhere online, the only option left was to just wipe the whole thing and start from scratch. We've all been there, right?
And this quote just nails that feeling of resignation, doesn't it? You just kind of accept the compromise because it feels like there's no other option. You just have to pick your poison. Old but stable or new and fragile.
But what if that whole idea is just wrong? This is where NixOS comes in. And look, it's not just another flavor of Linux. It is a fundamentally different way of thinking about how an operating system should even work. And it all starts with a pretty surprising fact.
If I were to ask you, hey, name the distro with the absolute freshest, most up-to-the-minute software library, you'd probably say Arch, right? And for a really long time, you would have been correct. But today, the king of package freshness is gonna surprise you.
And the difference we're talking about here is just staggering. The leader in this space doesn't just edge out the competition. It has 3 times more fresh packages than the next one in line.
And the data, which comes from Rapology.org, speaks for itself. Look at that. NixOS just completely dominates. With over 25,000 fresh packages on its unstable channel, it leaves everyone, including the legendary Arch, in the dust. So it has the cutting-edge stuff for sure, but how in the world is it also stable?
This seems to break that fundamental rule we just talked about. How can a single system have the most current software on the entire planet but also be incredibly stable and completely resilient to bad updates? Well, the answer comes down to one big idea.
So traditionally, we manage our systems imperatively. We tell the computer what to do, step by step. Install this package, then run this command, then edit that file. It creates this fragile state that's easy to break. NixOS, on the other hand, is declarative. You don't give it a list of commands. You just describe the final state you want, and NixOS handles all the steps to get you there.
And this is the core concept. Think of it like a package.json file if you're a developer, but instead of just listing dependencies for one project, it describes your entire operating system. Every single package, every user account, every system service, the whole shebang, all in one file.
So let's see how this master blueprint, this one little file called configuration.nix, actually works day to day. This file becomes the single source of truth for your entire machine, and that unlocks some truly incredible benefits.
So instead of digging through dozens of different config files and weird hidden directories, you have one, just one. And yeah, the Nix language itself has a bit of a learning curve, but you only have to learn it once. After that, you can configure everything, your web server, your desktop environment, your firewall, all from the exact same place.
This master blueprint, it basically gives you superpowers. You can take your config file to a brand new laptop, run one command, and perfectly replicate your entire setup. If you keep your hardware-specific settings separate, your main config becomes totally portable. You can even drop it on a USB stick and boot into your personalized system on any computer.
But this right here is the killer feature. Every time you change your config and rebuild, NixOS doesn't throw away the old version. It saves it. So if an update breaks something, like that kernel update from our story earlier, you just reboot, choose the previous working version from a menu, and boom, your system is instantly back to exactly how it was. It makes it literally impossible to get your system stuck in a state where it won't boot.
Now, Okay, NixOS is different, and there is a learning curve, for sure. So let's go over a few key tips from people who've already gone down the rabbit hole, just to help you avoid some of the common bumps in the road when you're getting started.
First, you have to commit to the blueprint. Always manage your system through that configuration Nix file, not with one-off commands like nixenv. That keeps your config as the single source of truth. Second, use a tool like Git to version control your config. This is huge because if you ever need to roll back, you can see exactly what change caused the problem. And finally, don't be afraid of the unstable channel. That rollback feature is your safety net, so you can test out the latest software without any real risk.
Okay, let's be totally honest about one of the biggest hurdles for newcomers, the error messages. When a build goes wrong, the output that hits your terminal can just be this massive, terrifying wall of text. It's incredibly intimidating for anyone, especially when you're new. And the funny thing is, the actual useful part of the error is usually buried deep inside all that noise. But because the whole NixOS build process is so scriptable, clever users have built their own tools that can sift through all that output and show you just the important part, the simple, human-readable error that actually tells you what went wrong.
And beyond the huge features like rollbacks, the unified way NixOS does things leads to all these subtle wins. Complex tasks that used to mean Googling obscure commands like tweaking kernel modules or adding a system service, they just become a few simple lines in your config file. It's the same simple process as installing a new program. You're not just managing a system, you're learning one. Single, consistent language for everything.
And that's the real magic here. NixOS takes things that used to be these arcane, expert-level sysadmin tasks, and it makes them normal. It makes them boring, easy, and, most importantly, perfectly repeatable.
So if this has piqued your interest and you're ready to jump in, the Nix ecosystem is massive. You can explore something called Nix Flakes for even better reproducibility, or check out Home Manager to use this same declarative style for all your personal config files. Honestly, one of the best ways to start is to just find other people's configurations on GitHub and see how they solve problems.
So, we end right back where we started. NixOS really challenges that fundamental compromise that we've all just accepted for decades. It suggests that the choice between a stable system and cutting-edge software was never really a rule of nature. It was just a limitation of the tools we were using. And maybe, just maybe, we don't have to accept that limitation anymore.